Oh, what's up, Philadelphia sports fans? I am Anthony Pinto. Welcome to the War Room. We are War Room Philly. How's everyone doing out there on this Friday night? Might be the first ever Friday show we've ever done here at the War Room, and it's good to see Joe Heston is already in chat. That's what we like. Um, but yeah, how's everyone doing out there, both live and on demand? Um, it's gonna be a show where we go over a little bit of everything. There's a few burning topics going on this week. Um, Zeke is one of them. We'll get into that later on in the show. First and foremost, let's hit the hottest thing, and then the more fun of the hot subjects. But yesterday, Reese Hoskins goes down with a knee injury, ACL. He's done for the year, and it. Let's forget it. Let's disassociate as Phillies fans for 1 second. Man, this sucks for Reese Hoskins. I'm gonna fix my monitor real quick. Sorry, can't see chat. This sucks for Reese Hoskins. And it's ironic, I guess. I'm just realizing this now. We'll be talking a little bit about the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is kind of in a very similar situation. Last year of his contract, goes down with this ACL injury. He's going to miss the year. You can't help but feel for Reese, who's gonna, he's gonna hurt from this financially, in the short term, and now moving into the Phillies, this is a big loss. Look, if you're one of these Reese Hoskins haters, you can hate all you want. You're entitled to your opinion, but it is not going to be easy to replicate 30 home runs, to bring in his. Let's see here. His slugging percentage, 462, doubles, 33 doubles last year, and the lightning rod that he is, as far as the clubhouse goes, when Reese is going, everything is going. So it's tough. I don't ever fancy myself as like a Reese Hoskins defender, but my God, I will fight the haters day in and day out. This is a guy that even if he this offseason got signed to a deal, I probably would have been happy about it. But ultimately, this is, in Reese Hoskins, we were kind of looking for him to almost have his Pat Burrell moment, where this would be his last year. He has a big year. He goes out and gets that bag, and the ending of the story we all wanted to be just like Burrow, where he was going down broad. This could mean that Reese is back on a 1-year deal next year. It could be that. This might not necessarily mean that this is the last of Reese Hoskins in a Phillies uniform. I think if Reese is going to take a prove-it deal anywhere, he would do it here. I think if any team is going to give him the most respectable prove-it deal, it would be the Phillies, too. And I say that because of, again, Reese has earned that. He's at least earned that. And if you're a hater, yeah, sure, he's been frustrating at times, especially in the field. But man, go look around. There's not Ryan Howard's and Albert Pujols'. And it's not those days right now in baseball where the first baseman lives supreme. Fact of the matter is, Reese is, including defense, he was going to be one of the better first basemen this year. Not one of the best, but he would have been top 15, give or take. He's got postseason moments that he's got postseason moments. That's the only positive I'm taking out of this. Yeah, I mean, the bat spike will go down in infamy as one of the all-time home runs in Phillies not even postseason, but in Phillies history. I mean, Bryce's is it's kind of unfortunate for Reese because Bryce in the same playoffs had an even bigger home run, and that's not to knock Reese, but the bat spike. I mean, it's got a nickname, right? So it goes down, rent free, as we say. Oops, sorry about that. I'm actually trying to pull chat up. No one's gonna make me log in. I'm trying to bring my separate chat window in because I'm having old man eyes today. So I'll multitask a little bit. What do we got over here? I'm gonna reach one more time. People for he would have been NLCS MVP. Yeah. I guess because he didn't thrive in the World Series, and the defense, is a thing as well. That people seemingly are a little more down on Reese than he deserves. If you talk to the people that just started watching in September, they'll tell you Aaron Nola and Rhys Hoskins are the reason why the Phillies lost the World Series. But yeah, it's the people that were here the whole year will say, well, they're not getting to that point without them. So I don't know why it keeps wanting to play Twitch. It should know that I'm to mute it. But okay, we're getting chat up. We're gonna have chat here so I can stop reaching in across the desk. You guys want an ad? I'll run an ad real quick. No, I'm just kidding. Pop out chat, best chat. Okay, there we go. Now we're up and rolling. Now I'm gonna close this so I don't keep reading both. All right. You can't just find 30 homers and 80 RBIs off the street. 2,000%, Joe. 2,000%. And just like with Aaron Nola, say what you want, but look at the amount of innings he eats up every season. And tell me that this team is better without them. He's just not. Hashtag lock up Nola. Channeling my Greg Hall there. Shout out to We Podcast and We Know Things and Greg Hall. But yes, lock up Nola right now. Lock up Nola. So that's the opening day Nola, by the way. Love Nola getting the opening day nod over Wheeler. Yeah, he deserves it. He deserves it. I mean, it's no disrespect to Wheeler, but they're together. They're both our ace. There's really no who's better than the other. They're both the ace, and when you have one after the other going up, it's great. And we'll get more into the minutia of this Phillies team next week. It'll be a big pregame extravaganza, big preseason extravaganza. Today, I wanted to focus a little more on that. I want to talk about the World Baseball Classic as well. But yeah, we had to start off with Reese just because how meaningful of an injury it is to this team. This is a huge loss. And it's, we're a little bit fortunate, if you will, because Derek Hall, I think, he can suit in pretty well. I think I'm a little more high on him than maybe most people. I really liked what I saw out of Derek Hall last year, and I thought it was a bad move by Rob Thompson to send him back down. I would have found a way to get creative to keep him and his bat on the team. And you saw down the stretch, there were time and time again where they needed a bat off the bench, and they didn't have it. So I think Derek Hall would have been that bat off the bench. Now you're losing that from your bench. Now that bat off the bench is, it's not there, it's going to be in your lineup for at least when you're starting against righties. And I forget who I saw it by today. Let me see. It might even be in my text thread. Greg sent something to me saying that Derek Hall will be getting some time against lefties too. And I guess the debate that Greg and I kind of were having, this was from Todd Zalecki saying that Dombrowski was saying that he'll get time at against lefties as well. And I guess the back and forth that Greg and I were having is, and this kind of leads into it, because if he's playing against lefties, then you're probably going to keep Bohm as a more steady third baseman. And I like that. I know the whole the early, and again, this is a very sound, logical. I'm even willing to see it out. I'm not going to sit here and argue. The first kind of wave of thinking is that you have Derek Hall against righties, and then lefties, you put Edmundo Sosa in the lineup at third, and you have Alec Bohm at first. Yes, that is on paper a better defensive lineup. I just don't know how sold I am in Alec Bohm at first base, and I don't want to. I'm not willing to sacrifice Alec Bohm's steadily improving defense at third to go, oh, one day you're here, the other day you're there. Like, I don't know that I want to do that to Alec Bohm. Now, if he's up for the task and maybe he can prove, it's not even me wrong, because I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying I feel uncomfortable with it. So, as far as Bohm going back and forth, I guess I'll go with the easy one. I'll just trust Topper on that, because he's in there and he knows he's because look, Alec Bohm's a competitor, right? He's gonna just say, "Oh, play me wherever, but he might know what play me wherever means more than you and I as well. So as far as, again, just to like conclude the Alec Bohm thing, I'm willing to see it out. I would much prefer if we can keep Alec Bohm at third. Just he's our third baseman this year. That being said, circumstances, at least in the temporary, circumstances have arrived, and you have to work your way around this. So if Derek Hall, especially if he's struggling against lefties, then guess what? If Clemens isn't showing up, because he's probably going to get a shot at the team now, Cody Clemens, Roger Clemens' son, if he's not adequate enough, you're kind of SOL, and you're going to start kind of spinning the wheel. I forget his name, Luke Voigt, he stayed with the Brewers, so that was going to be a potential option. He's not going to be here. So in the short term, you're going to have to kind of figure things out internally. And look, the Phillies are, for lack of a better term, because Derek Hall is here, they're a little bit more suited than maybe most teams would. But we got to see what Derek Hall can do against lefties. And my God, we got to see what he can do as a defensive first baseman, because I know no one wants to believe it, but Derek Hall is a worst, at least now, he can improve, but Derek Hall is actually a worse first baseman in the field than Rhys Hoskins. So, again, it's not to say that he can't improve, and it's not to say that now that he's, oh, this is my shot, I'm going to get out there and work double, triple time. But believe me when I say that it can get worse than Rhys. But sorry, I had a little bit there. Let me get back to chat. I see we got both Joes in chat now. Nola is the most underappreciated guy after Hoskins. I think that to that point, I'm not going to refute it, but to that point, those two, I think because they've been here the longest, are certainly the most scrutinized. Trey is him. Yeah, he sure is. Trey, man, it cannot be March 30th soon enough if you are anybody in the world named Trey Turner. I mean, and we can kind of use this as kind of we'll work our way into the World Baseball Classic now. But man, what a showing. And across the board, might I add, Stubbsy. I mean, if you go through Vance Worley, we had old school Phillies showing up. Vance Worley pitching against Team USA for Great Britain. Taijuan Walker pitching lights the bleep out. I mean, top to bottom, worldwide, your Philadelphia Phillies showed up in the World Baseball Classic. And Shohei Ohtani, frankly, stole Trey Turner's WBC MVP. Stole it by throwing some dirt sliders to Mike Trout. And yeah, it's, oh man. What a World Baseball Classic. Here's the thing. I know we were all rooting for Team USA. I still got the Stars and Stripes on. I also wore this shirt because, Counter-Strike 2 is a thing. Send me your Steam link. Counter-Strike 2 coming out soon. So I figured I could rock a little bit of Counter-Strike and a little bit of USA coming post World Baseball Classic. But man, just top to bottom, the Phillies, as a Philadelphia Phillies fan, how are we not just so proud of every single member that showed up on this world stage? Just an incredible showing. And as you know, I know that Team Japan took home the gold, and rightfully so, but they weren't the winners. The winner of the World Baseball Classic was baseball. And it was presented in the best light I have seen baseball presented in quite some time. Quite some time. Oh yeah, and Trey Turner is Captain America. Trey Turner 2026. If it's not Trey Turner, it's Bryce Harper as the captain. I think Trout will still be there, and you know, I don't know that he deserves the captain anymore. Sound like a Flyers fan. Joe Davis is I love the Davis Smoltz thing. I just wish that Smoltz in particular would talk a little less. And the one thing that John Smoltz does, and he does it every inning, at least twice, is you just don't know what this is like. You just don't. Stop belittling me, dude. Yes, I've never played in the majors, but I do know what it's like. I've seen sliders before. Like, I watch enough baseball. I get it. Like, stop talking to everybody through the microphone as if we've never watched a goddamn baseball game, because it feels like you're fucking belittling me, and it pisses me off. Other than that, he's amazing. Other than that, Smoltzy's the guy. I know that he's been getting a lot of heat in Atlanta because he was too much. Smoltz, look, I think that every good announcer will highlight the positive and negative of both teams, and Smoltz does that. He just talks a little too much, and he does this. You just have no idea what this is like. Shut up. Shut the hell up. But yeah, they're a great duo. So yeah, Smoltz was gushing over our lineup one break. Yeah, Smoltz. Look, if you're like, again, this is the people that say, people said it about Joe Buck, and you know, like, they say this about all the national teams because they just want to hear Merrill Reese, who has never said a bad word about Philadelphia. You know, they just want the homers, but it's like, yeah, how do you not see that? I mean, Smoltz last year during the playoffs was up and down on the Phillies. He was also positive about the Padres when he needed to be. He was positive about the Astros when he needed to be. Like, when other teams deserved their props, he gave it out. But yeah, this, you know, it's the World Baseball Classic was just every game I watched was, you know, there were some blowouts, but again, it was like, there's exciting blowouts, and then there's boring blowouts, and then I guess with the rules with the mercy rule in effect in the early, before the elimination stages, it's like it still makes the blowouts exciting because you're like, "Ooh, are they gonna get their rest?" Is it? It's crazy. Yeah, anybody can get hurt. I didn't even actually bring that up. But I've seen I was the first one to be on Twitter making the salty comment. Oh wow, I thought people only got hurt in World Baseball Classic. Um, yeah, it turns out that injuries happen, whether it's preseason, off season, mid season, postseason. It happens. It happens. And that Reese injury, man, it's a huge blow. It's a huge blow to this Phillies lineup. It's a huge blow to the Phillies clubhouse. It's a huge blow to the Phillies fan base because Reese is a heart and soul guy. He was drafted here. He's been here for years. This was the last year on his contract. Reese is a heart and soul guy. I will fight anyone that acts like, look, you can say negative things about Rhys Hoskins because I'll do it. But again, when I was on like how do I word this? When I was like being negative towards Rhys, if you guys remember, most of the time I was just bitching about where he was in the lineup. Rhys Hoskins is not a 2-hole hitter. Rhys Hoskins is not a 1-hole hitter. We've had some managers put him there. Steady diet. And that was always my biggest problem with Rhys, was where he was batting in the lineup. And then because he was there, he was looking for so many walks, which, hey, he got them, and that's great. But you're Rhys Hoskins, we need you to hit dingers. 30 home runs. We need that minimum from you. And, it's... Again, we talked about Derek Hall and how, in the grand scheme of things, we're a little more, we might be able to handle this blow better than more teams because of Derek Hall's bat. But again, he was only DHing for a reason last year. We're going to have to see how quickly he can improve defensively, if he can be there, as far as an everyday defensive first baseman. And then secondly, it's going to be, what can he do offensively against left-handed pitching? And if he can survive that, then, this injury becomes a little manageable. You still have a great team. You still have Trey Turner. You're going to get Bryce Harper back at some point, mid-season, All-Star break, or earlier. But it just, as far as right now goes, you'll handle it internally. And then, as Dombrowski's, we've seen that he's pretty aggressive. So I would imagine that this is move number one now, is bringing in a first baseman. It's just, you're going to have to maybe see who gets cut. You're in that waiting period time where you might get something right now in the next 2 weeks, or you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait until June. You're going to have to wait until, July. And at that point, that's where we've talked about earlier in this show, the options that are available as slated. I'm just going to pull up a tweet. I guess I could have done it on my computer, but here I am, doing everything I can. Where are we at here? Here it is. And this is just from Greg Talks a Lot, aka Greg Hall. I'm looking at his Twitter. We got the Luke Voigt thing I already talked about earlier, and then we also have Christian Walker, who is potentially on, he's a guy on Greg's radar. So we'll look up. Let's get up. And CJ Cron would be a pure rental, and Miguel Sano. Schwarber played first for the Red Sox. Yeah, for like a handful of games, and he's not good. That's actually a worse suggestion than the one I did, which I suggested Castellanos try playing first, which Greg in the group chat said, no, 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 no. I don't want Nick Castellanos anywhere near the infield. So I guess that's a hard pass there. Then Christian Walker, the good thing about Christian Walker, other than he was a Gold Glove first baseman, is he would be here for 2 years. But he would cost a little bit in the trade market. And yeah, so I was saying CJ Cron, we mentioned him as well. Trying to look. If you get a guy like Walker, I mean, that would spell the end as well for Reese, because again, he would be here for 2 years minimum on his contract. I'm trying to look up. For the life of me, I don't see his age here. 31, so not bad. Yeah, Kingery, no. Kingery is, at this point, he might be maybe a trade chip in where your first baseman comes from, where maybe it could be a situation where a team has got their own Scott Kingery, where it's just like a contract that they don't want, an expiring contract, and they just kind of, they need a middle infielder or center, and we need a first baseman. I mean, Cave is an outfielder. I think he's going to make the team, but he's not a first baseman. So, again, this is the majors. Like, you can't just pick a player and go, play first base because you're tall. Like, it's way harder than that. That's why, like, Schwarber and like, I made my own bad decision. Yeah, no. So I'm saying not for first, but he's an outfielder. But yeah, I mean. I think that the options we've already laid out internally. That's the options. It's Derek Hall. It's Bohm. It's Clemens. That's about it. Would I offer him in a trade for a first? Absolutely. I have no sentimental feelings about the caveman. A hot spring training does not make you untradeable. Yeah, I would 1,000% trade him. Sorry, Joe. When you said, would you offer Cave, I thought you meant like offer him the job. I don't know why I mistook that so poorly. But yeah, I guess just because I couldn't see a world where he's untradeable. So yeah, absolutely would trade anybody on them. There's no bench piece on this team that is untradeable for a first baseman, especially if it's an everyday first baseman. You're going to need to get rid of a lot more than just quad A guys, though. So yeah, we'll see. Again, we'll get into more of that later on as things move on. But I think right now we kind of have at least the early work set as far as that situation goes. So it's look, it just sucks, man. It sucks, like, just rooting for Reese the person is really, it sucks. Like, I don't know how else to say it, because like going down for the season in a contract year is just how long of a leash does Hall have? I guess the trade market, the free agent market, and Alec Bohm will decide that. because if you're saying how long of a leash does he have, it kind of means that he's not thriving, or worse. So I think the Phillies are already exploring options as to what's going to be out there. Again, as teams set their 40 man in the next coming week days, you might be able to see an option here or there. The Luke Voigt thing was the big one. So, oh no, Joe Hunter. For the record, if you go to Facebook, like there are people that were talking shit on him on the post that we made that he got hurt. So no, the haters are very much still alive, but now because the haters, most of them won't pay attention to baseball until October. They're just not here. But no, they're there. Like we literally had someone go, if he could just field a baseball, he wouldn't have got hurt. And it's like he didn't get hurt making an error. He got hurt fielding the ball. It wasn't like so. Yeah. Right now you just hear the smarter people talking, I would think. Because like I said, I know they aren't, yeah, well, yeah, people are stupid, especially on Facebook, and especially on when they're with their keyboards. But yeah, again, it is like, I'm not gonna play into their fuel. But any sound, any Phillies fan that's going to be here for 100+ games, and especially the guys that are here for all 62, guys and gals, they know what Rhys Hoskins means to this team. And in baseball, more than anything, the clubhouse means something. And he's a clubhouse guy. It's, again, bat spike. Like, he's an adrenaline rush to this team when he's on. No amount of numbers will kind of reproduce the other things that Rhys Hoskins does. Oh, and then there's the numbers as well. So it's tough. It's definitely tough. Not sold on Hall at all. I like Hall. I just I'm nervous about his defense more than anything. If going back to my little rant earlier, it's defensively, one, what can he do? Two, it's hitting against lefties. I'm less concerned. In my opinion, I think that, to go back to your leash comment, I guess here's a better way I can kind of dive into that. If he is fielding his position just at a major league level, I think that he will have the shot to play every day, assuming he's not hitting below 200 and no power hitting. Like, assuming especially if he's hitting against righties, and maybe, the 1-2 days a week that we do face a lefty, maybe then he's struggling. You can live with that if he's sound defensively. That's where I think the leash comment, that's the leash. If he's costing more runs than he's producing because he's making errors on the field, that leash shortens up, and especially if there's competition. And again, I think a big factor in this whole thing as well is Alec Bohm and Rob Thompson's willingness to play Alec Bohm at both third and first base. Going back and forth. But I love Derek Hall's bat. I was mad that he wasn't kept on the team when Bryce came back. But again, he didn't make the team in that sense because of his glove. Because they didn't feel comfortable with him ever being on the field, and Bryce Harper was the DH. So they deemed it more valuable to bring on someone that could at least play the field sometimes than never and produce offensively at a clutch rate, in my opinion. I thought Hall could. But yeah, now that we're halfway into this show, let's kind of, if you got any other baseball comments, whether it be World Baseball Classic or Phillies, throw them in the chat, and I will kind of mull them over as we now transition into the Eagles section of the show, and we'll close out with some Eagles talk. And if there's any Sixers talk, we can talk Sixers, but I guess I'll just give it like a Sixers minute, and if it produces any, if the Sixers minute produces any talk, we'll go through the Sixers talk and baseball talk as well. But my Sixers minute, if you will, is we're in that home stretch. And at this point, I don't want to see Embiid or Harden in any games that they don't have to play in. Be in the top 3 seeds, and that's it. I don't want to see these guys. I put them in saran wrap. I need Joel Embiid. I need James Harden to be as close to 100% for this playoff run. I am so sick of excuses with hurt and this and that. Done with it. Let's get past the goddamn second round this year. That's my Sixers minute this week. And I see that just moving forward in that, again, just I don't want to just breeze past the Sixers, but it just feels like right now we're in that waiting period. There's 9 or so games left, I think, in the season, and we're just in that, this is the worst part of the NBA season, because you got players potentially playing for solo rewards, but the most important thing right now is that championship and going into it healthy. And you have to now balance seeding versus player health, and this is where Doc Rivers starts to go insane, I'd imagine. And we'll see how it works. But what I can say on the positive note is, man, that pick and roll between Joel Embiid and James Harden is working. So get those guys healthy and ready for this postseason, and then that's when the Sixers will be the focal point of the show. And it's not that I'm not watching them and this and the third, but why does the MLB The Show come out 2 days before the regular season? Because that game is trash. I mean, I guess it's not. They're just, yeah. I mean, it's not the game, but it's just like they have no competition. It's just like the EA. It's just like Madden with EA. They don't have competition, so they can do whatever they want. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you why the MLB The Show comes out 2 days before the regular season. Would you think you would want to play it during the World Baseball Classic? Don't you want to play it like a month before the season just to get excited for baseball? I guess the difference between like Madden and they have a bigger gap in season, but I mean, at what point that doesn't really make sense anyway? Because first of all, you're not making anything; you're just doing an update to a game, which at this point in technology, it's ridiculous that we still pay $60 or more for the same game every year. It's crazy that we don't just get roster updates and pay $20 even. But I digress. Yeah, I don't know. That's just MLB The Show being MLB The Show. Maybe I'm a little salty because I got it. It's the only video game I've ever returned in my life. I got it last year because it came out for the Switch. I played it on the Switch. I got 7 in. I didn't even complete a game. And I popped it out on my Switch and I took it back to Target. It's the only video game I've ever returned in my life. But the game was unplayable on the Nintendo Switch. And it's amazing that they made another game for that hardware. Look, I realize that the Nintendo Switch hardware is outdated. Then don't make it for the game. That game played at about 23. It lagged more than Pokemon. So Ezekiel Elliott. Speaking of Madden, the Eagles made a move today. Terrell Edmonds, safety signing. This is another low risk move. You're getting a serviceable guy, but this is a guy that I think that this is I equate this to how the Titans are probably looking at Andre Dillard. Andre Dillard very much underperformed his first round status, but I think that given the right opportunity, now Edmonds was a starter for about 3 years, so Edmonds got his opportunity and did well. Whereas the name just escaped my head. The offensive lineman I was just talking about for the Titans. Whereas he is gonna go and now be a starter, where he couldn't really break through here, and that kind of just never was worth. Andre Dillard was finally the name popped back into my head. It was never worth the first round pick for this team. And if you see, that's what a lot of people say. Oh, he was overdrafted in Pittsburgh and he never lived up to that. Well, he's coming in on a clean slate here in Philadelphia, and I think that he could be a serviceable back. I have a Virginia Tech bias, and I think that anybody that was there around when Coach Beamer was there is a little extra special. In 2018, he was drafted, so 2007, I think Beamer was still there. So I remember watching him at Virginia Tech and wanting the Eagles to take him, but not in the first round. But yeah, this is a guy that's gonna, it seems as if what we're gonna do for the safeties is kind of have a few guys compete, and it's not sexy, but we'll see. Safety might be one of those things where you're gonna bring in enough guys, and maybe you get a C.J. Gardner-Johnson that falls into your lap via the trade at some point. But that's where they are right now as far as that goes. Right now, though, in Eagle Land, sort of the bigger topic of discussion is bringing in a potential Cowboy in Ezekiel Elliott. And it's been kind of a lightning rod conversation. I guess anytime you talk about bringing in a Cowboys great into Philadelphia, it's a bit of a thing. I know people most notably want to bring up the DeMarco Murray thing. These two, you can't just, oh, well, he was a running back for the Cowboys. These two, first of all, you're not bringing in Ezekiel Elliott on a big contract. I don't even think he gets a 2-year deal. I think he's getting 1 year. And he's also not getting the vet minimum, which I've heard and seen a lot of people. Well, if you bring him in on a vet, he's not making a vet minimum. Like, so let's give that dream up too. Like, he's not going to come in here and make 1.2. Like, you're going to pay him. You're going to pay him probably 2 to 4 million minimum to get Zeke in. So it's not going to be like break the bank money, but you're going to pay him. He would make more than Rashad Penny. Trust me on that. Now, if you could go back and undo the Rashad Penny deal and then bring Zeke in, all the better. My thoughts with the Ezekiel Elliott thing is it just feels like if you bring him in, which I'm for, it becomes a crowded room because people still think Trey Sermon's going to be a thing. And then what do you do with Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell? You just re-signed Scott, which him and Gainwell are pretty comparable backs. So you have those two who are kind of similar. Gainwell showed, in my opinion, his biggest upside in the most important times of the year. He was sort of your feature back in the playoffs. So it's like, I don't know where, if you bring him in, do you then trade Gainwell? Does Penny just get cut? Sermon, I guess, could just be cut as well or practice squatted again. It just feels like it becomes a crowded room. That being said, I have no problem with Ezekiel Elliott being here. I have no problem with, Bijan being here. I just don't want it at 10 or 15. If you're getting him towards 20 to 30, sure. But yeah, I see goal line back. And the goal line back, yeah, he could be your kind of short yardage guy and the guy that when you need more than two. Because we've seen we don't really need a goal line back because the tush push it's not getting banned. It doesn't seem. So, and you still have one of the better, if not best, offensive lines in the game, and Jalen Hurts to do it. Probably the best quarterback as far as getting sneaks go. So, I don't know that you got to go out of your way to get a back for short yardage situations. That being said, I'm never opposed to adding talent, and that's what Ezekiel Elliott is. And who could blame him? He wants to win a Super Bowl, so he says, I want to play for the Eagles. Now that we've had the discussion too, I think it was John Clark that broke the news, but the Eagles, as far as we know, haven't even conducted in conversations with Ezekiel Elliott. It was more of him just a wish list, if you will. It could have just, his camp may have merely put it out just to piss off the Cowboys. Which I'm for. I'm all for pissing off the Cowboys at every turn we can. So yeah, the Ezekiel Elliott thing, it would work. I have no doubt. It just, I would have to see, is Rashad Penny, like, can you cut Rashad Penny already? Can you go through a training camp? I don't know the guaranteed money on Penny, on Scott, or on what, obviously would matter on Ezekiel Elliott too. All those things would matter. Go play with the loser Rodgers. You know what would be the best, the funniest of situations? The Jets go out there and they make all these moves and then they never get Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I guess it's like, oh well, they're just still a good team, or trying to be a team that they think they're being. But Murph from the chat, Murph's a hard pass. Murph from the group chat, Murph in the Twitch chat. Can't imagine he comes here on a cheap. So I don't know if you heard, Murph. I was just saying earlier, like, I think he's here. I think he would be here on a 1-2 year. Not even here. I think the market value for Ezekiel Elliott is going to be 2 years tops. He's probably going to be on a 1-year deal, and I think he gets $2 to $4 million. He's not getting the vet minimum like some people think, but he's going to, $2 to $4 million. I think that it's very, very like, it's within the cap. The Eagles can make it happen if they want. It feels like if Zeke was going to be part of their plan, they would have went out there and attacked this already and not gone out and got Rashad Penny. So ultimately, I think that most of this is just kind of fun what if talk. So I really don't think he comes to Philadelphia. Giggity. So we'll see. But yeah, we covered everything on my rundown. I'll say that. Do we got any? I hate it so much. Just the idea. I love it. I honestly, like. Here's my thing. How great would it be if Ezekiel Elliott is holding a Super Bowl trophy in Midnight Green? I know people go down the negative road, and oh, it's bad, because that's what happened with DeMarco Murray, the most recent instance of this happening. But I go, let's go the other way. Let's think of it as Cowboys fans sitting there watching their all-time great, or one of, because obviously Emmitt Smith is the all-time, in that category. But one of the guys that they drafted, and how many years was he there, he them boy, and then he's holding that Lombardi trophy in Midnight Green. Like, come on. I hate that even more, him winning here. He doesn't put this team over the top. But in my dream, he did and does. That's what I'm saying. In my dream, in this scenario that I have created, in my world, he has and did and does. But it's just, my bad. I'll back out of your dream space. No, come on in. Come on. I just I get it. I get the idea that I'm not signing him to be a feature back. I'm not. To me, if you bring Zeke in, you have Gainwell and Ezekiel Elliott as your 1 and 2. Penny is already gone. I don't know how, why, or where, but like if you, he'd be gone in this situation. But I think that Gainwell and Ezekiel Elliott could be a really good combo with Boston Scott as the spell, and maybe even a Trey Sermon as the fourth. Again, I just don't see where all of these guys mix in if you do bring in Zeke too, and Rashad Penny. It feels like there's just I know we run the ball a lot, but it just feels like there's too many mouths to feed. To pun intended with the Zeke thing. I've seen the spoon and everything in chat, and I get it. Zeke winning a Super Bowl here. The Cowboy fans may actually stay in the holes and not come out. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The only thing he might have, his legs to run behind an offensive line. That's again, he'd be playing. The situation's different. Like I have faith that Rashad Penny can be potentially good in this as long as he could stay upright. Isn't that why we were all like we were kind of fine with saying well behind this offensive line behind this offensive line, I think Ezekiel would be pretty damn fine too. And in that goal line package, if the tush push is getting not banned but even figured out, you now have a couple of outlets to go in that situation. You don't even have to go to the goal line, package. Just in that base, your two tight end, shotgun, just to the handoff, and the read option. That option to just power through and go for 2-3 yards. He would give that to you over a Gainwell. And, again, it's so hard for me to talk about Rashad Penny moving forward right now because I have not seen him stay healthy. But, we haven't really talked about it here because, again, I can't see him. I don't want to get to, but I think he's got some explosiveness in him. It's just a matter of if he could stay out there. Murph, don't back down. I'm not here to convince you. I love strong opinions are welcome here. Don't back down. Can't be okay with Penny and not want Zeke here if you're contradicting. Wait, can't be okay with Penny and not want Zeke here. You were contradicting yourself. So, you might even. I know this. I don't think you're talking about me here, but again, it's to that point and that point that you're making, Joe. It just gets crowded though if they're both here, right? So I don't know. That's my only thing about both of them being here. It feels like it's a crowded running backs room. That being said, I would rather Ezekiel Elliott over Rashad Penny. Again, I don't know the logistics of his contract. If they could just be like, you know what, we're gonna cut you, and we didn't give you any guaranteed money, so bye. Like, if you can do that, let's do it. And even going forward, then if you would sign Elliott, then it definitely means that the Trey Sermon thing was just all talk. Because I'm not sold on him. Greg and I already had that. We had a little mini, argument over that a couple weeks ago. I don't see Trey Sermon. He's on the practice squad. I don't think the NFL values him. I don't think the Eagles value him as much as some people think. So then maybe your running back room is if you can like scrap Sermon, which I can, it would be Gainwell, Elliott, Penny, and Scott. That's how I would depth chart it, and that's an adequate group of backs. I just don't know how you let anyone get into a rhythm with all four of those guys there. but it's a really good group of guys. Again, I'm concerned how pun intended, how do you feed all of them? And how do you make it so that, like, going back to, like, we all saw when it worked in the 2017-18 season, but what about the 2018-19 season when you had these backs and it became so predictable what kind of run was going to come out with each back? And I guess the answer to that in the short term is Jalen Hurts makes that the harder part to defend. And yeah, look, man, I hope we're just all going to be like, damn, Penny. Like, there were injury concerns about even A.J. Brown coming into last season. We can't stay healthy. We heard that last year with a couple of the guys they picked up, and let's face it, they stayed healthy. So I don't want... as a general manager, more importantly, Howie can't be running this team with, oh, well, he's definitely going to be hurt, because then why the fuck did he sign him? But it's like, yeah, I guess the cover your ass too. You gotta have someone else there. But in my opinion, the someone else, the penny insurance was already built in when you signed him. It was Gainwell and it was Boston Scott. So it's. Again, I think at the end of the day, this is all just bar talk, which I'm cool with having at this point in the season. At this point in sports, it's March. But I don't think he's coming here. I don't. I don't think he would have 1,000 yards either. Not that he couldn't. But again, I don't think there's enough ball. He would be minimum the second back here on this team. He would not be your primary ball handler. Nor would you, I don't think. I don't think you would want him to be your every down guy. So, but to your point, Joe, I think he could. Like, if you were going, all right, well, he's going to be the guy, and we're gonna run him a la the way they did, Sanders last year. So it's. I guess you could come close to it and again, 1,000 yards isn't the same thing as it used to be. So we got to keep that in mind. But again, it's also, we're running so much less as the NFL progresses that it's still pretty relevant. But yeah, it's. He would be absolutely adequate if they brought him here. That isn't my problem. I don't see, because I know that you got to remember DeMarco Murray was running the same one run play, and it wasn't effective because Sam Bradford was the guy running it to him. So you knew it was never a read option. It was just going to him, and defenders just came crashing down. If you remember when he left, he had a bit of a second wind. I forget where with. But he had a second win, and it wasn't like, oh, he's just completely toast. We found out that it was Chip Kelly. Miles Sanders got the ball 259 times last year. He got the ball plenty. To say they said that they hardly used Sanders, that's false. They hardly used him in the Super Bowl. But they ran, especially last year, the highest amount of times that Sanders got the ball 179 times in 2019, 164 times in 2020, 137 in 2021, and that was he had 12. Actually, he had 11 starts and 12, 15 last year, and that was where he had his 259 rushes. So, but yeah, at this point though, I think it's time we can start getting into the final thoughts. If you got in late, um, if there's anything that we missed, if you wanted to just throw Trey Turner some love, he deserves it. If you want to talk any baseball or anything like that, Sixers even, by all means. Sanders' problem was always bouncing outside. That that was the problem in 2019. Sanders' problem was ball security. Ball security in crucial moment in the fourth quarter. That's why he was in the playoffs. Gainwell's surge in productivity and the coaching staff's lack of faith in Sanders' ball security is ultimately why Gainwell started to become your feature back in the playoffs. Bouncing outside is why he would hit home runs. It wasn't really his problem. But early on in his career, look, rookies do this. A lot of people said the same thing about McCoy. All he does is he wants to bounce outside. LaShawn McCoy is one of, if not the best running back in Eagles history, doing it only bouncing outside. Most people come into the league, most young running backs, and they get humbled really quick because in college, they're faster than everybody. So when you don't see a hole, you just run to the outside and you're faster than everybody so nobody can catch you. When you get into the league, you try to realize, you're usually pretty humbled quickly unless you're going to become, quite frankly, a potential Hall of Famer like LaShawn McCoy is. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer, but he's up there. So, it's just, it is what I'm sorry, I got called. You know who has the most pressure now with the Hoskins injury? Are you asking me that, or do you have, is that a setup? If you have the answer, just tell me. If you're asking me just to generate sports talk, it's Derek Hall. Nick Castellanos as well. That's a good one. But Derek Hall now has a major league career to earn off of this. Nick Castellanos' pressure doesn't change either way, in my opinion. He still had to come out in this season and produce. Derek Hall now has a chance to make a major league career out of this. But yeah, Nick Castellanos, I had a feeling, Joe. Had a feeling that you had an answer to your own question there, just by the way you phrased it. But yeah, no, Nick Castellanos has to step up for both himself and the team, but he had to do that either way. So in my opinion, as far as pressure goes, it comes down to Derek Hall, because now he's got to do more than just DH. Derek Hall is going to have to learn how to play first base at a major league level. And if he wants to succeed and play 162 and earn himself a future, he's got to do it. I don't even know who Hall is. I guess you didn't watch baseball during the regular season last year. He literally kept the team afloat when Bryce Harper went down. Him and JT. He was the DH, and I guess because, this is what happens. A lot of people just watch the playoffs. They didn't watch the regular season. Calling you out, Pops. But now, no, Nick had to do that regardless. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Nick Castellanos had to put up Nick Castellanos numbers regardless, or we as a fan base were going to get the pitchforks out. He had to do that either way. Nick Castellanos had to hit 20-plus home runs either way. So now it comes down to, what can Hall do? No, we can't talk about the Flyers winning. No, we can't. I don't care. Flyers get no time in this show. We did a Sixers minute. You think the Flyers are going to get any room? The Sixers are in the top 3 seed. And Joe, you got them going to the Eastern Conference Finals or more. And we only gave them a minute. Yes, I know they should be losing. And we're not going to talk about them. So yeah, it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. I got the Sixers winning it all. That's what I love. I hope you're right. I'm going to pop the champagne. If they make it past the second round, because at this point, I have had a cigar ready to go for the Phillies, but I said, no, I'm going to wait until the World Series because they're going to win it. And then the Eagles, and I'm going to wait until the Super Bowl. They're going to win it. And at this point, I'm just going to light that stogie up after the Sixers make it past the second round. Derek Hall is he was DH that filled in for Bryce Harper last year. He hit about what did he hit last year? He hit 9 home runs in only 136 at bats in the time he was here. Now, the reason why he should have stayed on the team. He came up really hot, but the fact of the matter is he didn't stay on the team because Bryce Harper's your DH, and Derek Hall's defense wasn't good enough to go, we can even put him on the field to spell Rhys Hoskins here and there. He wasn't even good enough defensively to do that. So ultimately, Topper said, I need defense, not a DH, no matter how much I need a power bat off the bench. Again, I did not agree with this move. I would have kept Hall here because I thought that he brought an element to that bench that no one else could, which was power, pop, and every now and then you need that in a situation. So Derek Hall is he was your DH last year, and he came in and filled in just fine when he got his opportunity. This year he's going to be your everyday first baseman now. So and again, going back to it, the leash is as long as he can play defensively at an MLB level, and that's the MLB level is Rhys Hoskins. As long as he can play around that level, I think that he'll be fine. I think that he can, honestly, if he gets a full season of at-bats, I think Derek Hall can produce about 20 home runs. I don't think that that's a stretch. Again, nine home runs in what was about 2 months of baseball. Yeah, over under 20. Look, Joe, we had the number right on that. I think he can hit around 20. But I'm not going to go over under on that number because I need to see his defense. He's not going to stay on this team being the designated hitter. As soon as Bryce Harper comes back, that's your DH. So he's going to have to earn his keep playing defensively. And if he can, I think he can hit potentially 20 to 27 home runs. I really do. Even against left-handed pitching. He's got the bat to be in the majors. We'll see. This team will miss Hoskins. They will. Anyone that says this team is not going to miss Rhys Hoskins does not know baseball. Even if they go out and make a trade for Christian Walker and you have your first baseman for the next 2 years, you will still miss Rhys Hoskins because of the clubhouse, mojo that he provided. That being said, if you go out and can maybe sign a guy like Christian Walker, a guy that can potentially get you in that same range, 22 home runs. The thing about his 22 home runs and maybe a potential 22 home runs from Derek Hall is you get Gold Glove fielding out of Christian Walker. So if that's something you value, then you might have to go out there. You might have to give up an Abel. You might have to give up one of those prospects that you know the name of to go get him. Do you want to do that? That's tough. That's certainly something that we'll talk about next week. We'll have word on the street is I'll have a co-host or 2 or 3. So it could be a packed lineup next week. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. Oh, and see that's what I'm saying. Some people have thought me in the past as a Rhys hater. I have never. My biggest gripe with Rhys was he's not a 2-hole hitter. That's always my biggest gripe, and that's not his fault. That was the manager that cooks his meatballs in red sauce and calls it red sauce. He doesn't call it gravy. It's the Metagon Italian. And the guy before him who spit out ice cream. Rhys Hoskins is a 4 to 6 hole hitter, and he was gonna bat in. Oh man, I'm upset for Rhys this year because Rhys really could have had a chance this year to prove everyone wrong because he finally was going to be in the spot that he needed to be in. He was going to bat 4 to 6. He was going to have talent around him, and he was going to go make his bag this year, man. Ultimately, like, yeah, it sucks as a Phillies fan, but like the me that was rooting for Rhys Hoskins, the human being, feels right now. Because again, I think he was set to make his bag this year, and it's not to say that he can't next year. I truly, again, we'll have to see how this first baseman situation plays out throughout the year. This could mean that Rhys is back on a 1-year deal next year. It really could. Talking about the fake Italian made me want the last few sips of my now cold espresso. So yeah, this has been a good one. This has been a good one. Thanks for bringing it here on a Friday night. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Everyone coming on out on a Friday night and hanging out here in the War Room. Stay tuned. Monday, there could be a little surprise hit. Stay tuned. You know, there might be a little bit some Monday day action in the future as well. But Facebook.com/WarRoomPhilly, you guys know right now is the best way to get your information as far as show times and go. If USA had pitching, Japan would have been, yeah. The thing about, look, USA had good enough pitching. It's just unfortunate that, look, they lost the game 3-2. You can't really blame that game on pitching. I know throughout the tournament they didn't have it, and look, your power guys, excuse me, your power guys are always gonna have are gonna have a hard time committing to the World Baseball Classic because of when it is, right? That being said, maybe the more popularity this grows, that these guys just go, you know what, I'm gonna get ready for it. But like, let's take it in our case. Would you really want Aaron Nola or Wheeler out there? I wanted all my guys out there, but after going as long as they went last year, like, I don't want Nola or Wheeler going out. But Aaron Nola could absolutely be a type of guy that goes out there and pitches in a World Baseball Classic one day, I mean. Because he's a guy that he's the type of pitcher that pitches in these things because he's more control instead of power. So Aaron Nola can kind of come in and be locked in March and look really good. And I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see if the stars align that maybe one day he's in. But when you're pitching in the World Series, you don't want to kind of just go in and be ramped up in meaningful games in March too. So I really didn't want our guys, and you got to remember that that's a big reason why maybe USA didn't have its top pitching. But man, they could have won it. They were right there in it. At the end of the day, Japan's got a lot of talent. 97% of that country watched that baseball game. You go, oh, it doesn't matter. Guess what? The World Baseball Classic is why Shohei Ohtani is Shohei Ohtani. If it weren't for the World Baseball Classic, that manager that's managing that team never gets to him. Never says, look, stay here for 1 year. Let's make you not a one-way star. Let's make you... Look, he's already surpassed Babe Ruth. I know that mightn't be like a bit to say, but like he's already passed him. He's pitched in more games than Babe Ruth. At least as far as the pitching side goes, he's pitched in already more games than Babe Ruth, and for more years. Babe Ruth had to throw for 3 innings to hit triple digits. And I mean 20, 40, 60, 8. Babe Ruth was throwing lollipops. Not no 100 plus. So it's yeah, it's this game is again, that's why I said earlier when you ask who won the World Baseball Classic, it was baseball. Team Japan came away with the gold, but baseball won. And yeah, I it was you look at that line. I mean, the last 3 pitchers that you first of all, I gotta look. I forget the name. I want to know if we can go and get this right-handed pitcher that was coming in throwing 97 and then a dart slider that just dropped. It looked like Brad Lidge just dropped. And Greg, in our chat, the chat that Murph was alluding to earlier, says, "I think that you're just born with knowing how to throw a slider in Japan." And I said, "No, you're not born knowing how to throw a slider. You're born knowing how to throw a nasty slider. That either goes this way, this way." Say what you want about, like it's hard to get Mike Trout to swing and miss. Both of those guys at the end of the game got him to do it, and Otani and the other guy. I forget the last one. 2 got signed. Yeah, I mean, it's that team's good. The team is really good, and hats off to them. And look, it's to your point, Joe Hunter. It's pitching. Pitching means everything in these meaningful games, and sometimes 3-2 is the final score. And Japan did it with pitching. Even against the Americans' stacked lineup. Even with the Philadelphia Phillies doing absolutely everything they could, putting up 2 runs in that game. Stacked. So, yeah, I just, it's just, it was a great World Baseball Classic, and it was fun to see baseball in that light. And it was fun to see guys like Arozarena getting his time in the sunlight. Like, if you look at some of the numbers for social media following that these guys got because of this, it's just good for baseball all the way around. So yeah, I guess with that, it's gonna be time to start wrapping up this show. I want to thank everyone, both live and on demand. Shout out to the YouTube crowd. Make sure you follow us, War Room Philly, absolutely everywhere. But YouTube crowd, make sure most importantly you follow us, twitch.tv/War Room Philly. And you come in here and you flick notifications on. And every time we go live, you get a little notification. You know what? I'm going to watch. I'm going to listen. I'm going to join in some Philly sports talk today. And you go in and hop in on that. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't really have many more final thoughts. So yeah, Facebook.com/War Room Philly. That's the other plug. And with that, it's time to put a bow on this pretty little show. Well, I'm Anthony Pinto, and we are out of here. Get better, Reese. Go Birds. See Philly special. Eagles. Go Birds.